Okay, so this is going to be a very quick little tutorial on how you can actually model a simple hand, and we use this in our 3D modeling for the character in our Mario Kart assignment. Basically, you want to start with kind of a reference here, and you can actually use your own hand, or in this case, you can use this picture of a hand here. You want to kind of think about the part of your hand that doesn't include the fingers. So if I just kind of take a box here, I'm kind of talking about this area right here. Okay, so you kind of want to start with a box about that shape. Now, we're going to have to change it a little bit. You know, we'll have to narrow the end here where the wrist starts, and, you know, up here there might be a bit of an angle. But generally, you want to make a box about that shape, so a rectangle, and then think about how thick that rectangle should be, and that's about the thickness of your hand, like that. So, I know this is 2D, but when I go into 3D now, and I'm just going to make this in the top, we're going to make a box kind of like that, little bit of a rectangular shape, little bit of thickness like that. Okay, so this is the very start. Now, like anything, we're going to start with an edit poly on this. So I'm going to modify it, go up to my edit poly. And from here, what I want to do is I actually know that I need to separate the fingers, and what I want to do is use an extrusion. So I'm going to just simply do like a 3-finger character. You can do a 4-finger or even more if you wanted. I'm going to go up to my edge command here, and with my edge I can select these edges here, but what I also can do is I can do what's called a cut. And if I scroll down here and I choose cut, I can put my mouse right on that line there. Now I'm going to click it once, and you can see it's attached to that line, and then I'm going to go down to the place where I want to cut it again, and I'm going to click just once. So click, and now it's still attached. This is the important part. Right click to finish it. Now when I rotate around, I can just make sure, I'll just put on edged faces here. I can just make sure that there's no other weird cuts. So sometimes when you use the cut tool, you get cuts like on the bottom or the side, so you want to avoid that. So that actually looks pretty good. And now when I go to polygon, you can see, oops, I'm still on my cut mode. When I actually go to polygon, I've cut that face into 2. Well, I'm going to do it one more time. So I'm going to go back to edge, and I'm going to go to cut, and I'm going to kind of go right here. You can notice the icon changes. Click, click. Still attached, right click to end, check to make sure there's no weird cuts anywhere that I've accidentally done, and this one looks pretty good. So I'll go back to polygon now, make sure my cut is off, and you can see those are going to be the basis for my 3 fingers. Now, they're not perfect right now. Actually, I do have a weird line in there, hoping that's not going to wreck anything. Guess we'll find out. They're not really perfect right now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my vertex mode, and I'm just going to use the move tool and just kind of move them around a little bit to kind of make them about the same distance, okay? And kind of, I don't know, just adjust them a little bit. I want those lines to be a little bit straighter. Now, if you were to extrude these right now, okay, so if you were to extrude these right now, which is what most people think to do, if you were to take that polygon and extrude it, there's going to be a problem. When I go to extrude here, that's going to go out, and then if I check that, and then I go to the next one, and if I extrude that, well, it's going to look like these fingers are kind of stuck together, which is not what I want. So I'm going to undo that, and what I'm going to have to do is change the angle. Okay, and if you look at, if you look here, see how I've adjusted the angle a little bit there? I'm going to do that in 3D Studio. So what I would do is in the top view, I'm going to go back to vertex mode, and I'm just going to change that angle just a little bit. Okay, and then I'll drag a box around these and do the same thing. And just that subtle little change of angle is going to make it way easier to extrude those fingers properly. So now I can go to my polygon, select this, go to extrude, and extend it out maybe like that much. Now if you look at your hand right now, you've actually, it just doesn't show it very nice, but you've actually got three little bones in each of your fingers, okay, that, you know, the knuckles connected. So I actually have to do 3 extrusions. So I'm going to do 1, I'm going to hit the check mark, I'm going to do 2, I'm going to hit the check mark, and then the fingers actually get a little narrower at the end. So what I can do is I can actually do a bevel for the third one, and when I do a bevel, I can bring it out, and then I can bevel it in, kind of like that. So I've, you know, that bevel is whatever, 23 positive and -2, and I hit check mark. So that looks okay. So then I'll do the same thing to this one. I'm going to extrude it, hit the check mark, maybe bring that out a little more because it's the middle finger. Okay. And obviously you can hit the little plus sign as well each time if you'd rather, but I'm just doing it like this. Check, and then do a bevel, and that bevel actually looks pretty good. And then I'll do the last one here. Okay, so that looks pretty good right there. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to give a little bit of a bend to these fingers. Okay, and this is where it gets a little complicated. You may have to watch it a few times before you get it. But we're going to go back to vertex mode. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select all of the vertices that are past the point of the first kind of, or the end of the hand. So in this case, all of these here. Okay, so if you look at the top viewport there, I'm going to select all of those. And I'm going to take all of those now, go to the Move tool, and to keep this valid, I'm just going to right-click once over in here. Okay, so now that selection is still valid, but I'm in the perspective, and I'm just going to move all of them down just a little bit. It looks kind of weird right now. But then I'm going to left click up in the top, and this time instead of grabbing all the vertices, I'm going to grab all of these ones, which is kind of the last knuckle. Okay, so I'm going to grab those ones. Come over here, and you can hit either the right mouse button or the wheel button will activate it in this viewport. And I'm going to bring those ones down a little bit. And then finally, come back to the top, just get that last strip of them, and now I can kind of bend those down. So you can kind of see I've got a bit of a natural flex there. And I mean, if I play with these vertices even more, I can eventually get more like a grip, so it could grip around a steering wheel. The thumb is a little bit trickier. What I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to just kind of bring in the wrist a little bit, because the wrist is a little less narrow. Something like that. And then for my thumb, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my edge, and I'm going to make a cut. So I'm going to go to cut, figure out where I want to make it, and I'm going to kind of, and I'm looking at my thumb right now, kind of comes from the bottom. Maybe I'll do it right about here. So I'm going to click once, click twice on the other edge, and then right click to end, and then I'll do another one, maybe right around there. So it's click, click, right click to end. Turn my cut off, and then go back to polygon, and now I can actually click on that, and I'm going to extrude it out. Now, this is where you're going to be a little creative. Maybe you want to change this angle a little bit at the start. You know, if it comes in like that a little bit, maybe move that vertex out. You just got to think about what angle that's going to start coming out on. So when I grab that polygon and I extrude it out, goes like that. And think, just look at your hand right now. Have a look and decide, does that look right? Keep in mind the thumb only has 2 joints in it, or I should say 1 joint and 2 bones. So you're only going to do 2 levels of extrusion. And then I just kind of go into the vertex menu and just kind of mess around a little bit. Move these and stuff until you kind of get the shape that you want. It's really just a lot of creativity until you get exactly what you're looking for. Maybe something like that. And then I'll go back to polygon. I'm going to click right on there. I'm going to do a bevel this time. So that's going to bring it out, maybe a little more, shrink it down a bit, and hit check mark. There we go, that's not too bad right there. And then the same thing, I could actually select the vertex. I could drag drag a box around all of the segments in the thumb there. Come over here and bring them down a little bit, and then grab just the end bits of the thumb. And angle that down as well. So it's not perfect, but you know, that should be enough to get you going. From here you can actually extrude out the wrist as well. You can make an entire arm, you can bend it at the elbow, you can do quite a lot of stuff. Really nice finishing touch for this is to put on a turbo smooth. I'll just kind of smooth it out a little bit, and yeah, you kind of get that nice cartoony look of a hand. So hopefully that's going to get you started, and you can add that into your character who's going to be driving your Mario Kart. Good luck!